can just make it look like
Sean's
Sean's producing in the background.
Alright. Again.
Every time Katie restarts, I take a drink.
Right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NixCast. This is our 5th episode of a weekly podcast about video games and adjacent items. I'm your host, Katie, and joining me tonight, we have Mike and Kyle. Tonight, we're going to have some interesting stories about Jim Ryan and the Sony CEO and what he's been saying about the PS5 and things that are coming in the future for the system. We also have some interesting news articles about Switch games and ports that are coming to the Switch soon, hopefully. We also have some interesting information about a GIANT Capcom leak and some Stadia stuff. Surprise, surprise. Alright, let's get into it. First, we have Deathloop, which was previously thought to be a PS5 exclusive, is coming to Steam after all. So this is a ZeniMax game, which, as you guys know, is now owned by Microsoft. I'm not sure if this has any bearing on the situation with Deathloop, since Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, has said that they are going to keep all contracts that Bethesda/ZeniMax already has with anybody in place. But this is this is not the first game to have questionable marketing as far as its exclusivity goes. And it makes you wonder what is going on over there at Sony, and are they smoking crack?
I don't know that they're smoking crack. Yeah, this is weird because, like, in this game looks very unique. I will say that. Like, we were just talking about beforehand. Like, I still don't think I quite get the gameplay loop. I'm trying to wrap my brain around it. It still seems a little. It looks very interesting. I think it looks super cool. I mean, it's Looper, right? Or not Looper, but I guess less Looper.
No, it's Groundhog's Day. You play as Bill Murray.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, basically.
Can I get a Venkman outfit then if we get to play as Bill Murray in Deathloop? Ghostbusters reference.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. You can get a Ghostbusters outfit in Fortnite, in case you were wondering.
You can get anything in Fortnite, so I just at this point just assume that at this point it's like, yeah, you can basically just do whatever you want in Fortnite. Yeah, this is interesting. I didn't realize it was a ZeniMax game. And I know we don't have this article in here, but there was an article that came out this week talking about the future of ZeniMax games on not Xbox and Microsoft, talking about in the same vein of that kind of thing. And it's curiosity. I think it's going to be interesting to see how that whole thing plays out.
So that deal doesn't actually go through until January. So nobody knows or is allowed to say anything about what's going to happen there. Other than Phil Spencer saying that he is going to keep all contracts that are currently in place. And I'm sure that's like they legally have to.
That makes sense.
So that means that Deathloop is still going to be a PS5 console exclusive. What's the other one? I can't think of. There's another one. Oh, yeah. Ghostwire Tokyo. That was what I was thinking about.
Yeah, got it.
Totally remembered that.
Yeah.
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 Ghostwire Tokyo is,
that game aesthetically looks beautiful. That's the weird, like, cyberpunk paranormal game, right? Yeah.
Yep. So that was one of the things that we all joked about as soon as that was announced for Microsoft. It's like, so Microsoft's going to have a game that's exclusive to PS5 for, I think it's timed exclusivity, but still.
I mean, how long has Minecraft been on everything? It's not the first time.
That's
and I know
different
it's not an exclusive game, but still.
Also, that game was already out when Microsoft bought the company.
Yes.
So they're not gonna take it away from people that already have it,
Yes.
Versus them buying this company and then.
But can you get Minecraft on PS5?
Yeah.
Can you? Yeah. Okay. I didn't know. I have no clue if it's available on PS5 or not. That's why I was curious. Mm-hmm. But they're still making money off of their product on another platform.
I think it's just a forwards compatible. I don't think there's like a PS5 version of the game because you don't necessarily need to have a PS5 version of the game since there is forwards compatibility.
But any copy of Minecraft that's bought moving forward from the time that they purchase those rights to that game is their money. So that's just what I'm saying is they're still making money off their product on another's service, which Microsoft seems to be the best about all that. Of being like, you can,
because they put so Outer Worlds was already done when Microsoft bought Obsidian, basically, but that game's on other platforms. What else? Ori, those games have gone to Switch. Those are Microsoft games. So yeah, Microsoft's kind of just like slinging it all over the place. Whatever, money's money, you know.
They're taking the Sega approach, except their console hasn't failed yet. That's the difference.
Well, yeah, here's the thing. The money, especially this generation, the money that Xbox is making on the per console basis is microscopic compared to what they make through game sales. Yeah. More so through their own storefront, because they get like 30% or whatever, but yeah, their games on other platforms still make them more money than like selling an extra console, so that's why there's kind of been rumors about Xbox Game Pass going to other systems, possibly.
Yeah, that was a Switch rumor for a long time, right?
Yeah, that's still kind of...
I would love that.
I think at this time it's pure speculation. Somebody did ask, what's his face, about it.
Phil Spencer?
Yes. Where is my brain tonight? Somebody did ask Phil Spencer about it, and he said that they'd love to do that, but he said something about like when people use Game Pass, they want to have the Xbox experience, they want to keep their Xbox friend list, they want to have Xbox achievements and stuff, and they can't bring those things over to the Switch. And I was like, who cares?
No,
just give me Game Pass on my Switch. I don't need my Xbox friends list. I guess I wouldn't be able to play
I can see that, but like for games like 3 Game Pass games, we had 3 really good adventure games drop on Game Pass recently. Day of the Tentacle, the other 2. I'm trying to think. The motorcycle game and the Day of the Dead game. I can't think of what the heck the name is. Grim Fandango and Full Throttle. All 3 are great point-and-click adventure games. They're absolutely stunning games, but it's like, those are games that I'd like to play on my... Those are games that if I could, through Game Pass, play it on my Switch without having to pay for it, because I always pay for Game Pass, that would be a better place to play those. It's just the Switch is good for certain types of games, I think. Better for certain types of games, and I think those are games that would play well there. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because whenever you do, or regardless of if you're playing a Game Pass game or not, you can access all of your Xbox stuff on your PC. So I have one of my Xbox controllers paired with my PC, and I can hit the Xbox button and use it as if I was using an Xbox. But I don't think that like really adds to the experience. The only time I really use it is because you can adjust the volume of the game and stuff in that interface.
Oh, yeah.
Other than like hitting Windows and then trying to do it there, but I don't need that, you know. I don't know. It just,
speaking of Game Pass,
it just seems like a terrible excuse from Phil Spencer. But yes, speaking of Game Pass, in an interview with some Russian game news people this week, Sony CEO Jim Ryan hints at Xbox Game Pass competitor for the PS5.
They need it. They absolutely need it.
So I have PS Now because I got a fantastic deal on it on Prime Day. I will say, PlayStation Now, some of the games are streamable and some of them are downloadable. I haven't really tried any of the downloadable ones yet, but there are some good games on there, great games on there. I tried to play something this week. Because it's streamable, it's faster initially than downloading, and I was waiting for another game to download. So I just started playing My Time at Portia. And it was excruciating because of how fast the PS5 is. You're like so used to like instant. Well, I mean, I've only had it for like a week and a half, right? But it's still, it's like I don't want to wait any time at all for any game to load, and because it's being streamed, there are longer load times than there would be if it was on my machine, you know? But it does kind of address the issue where, you know, the PlayStation 5 hard drive is not that big. It is instantaneous, but I just don't think the internet infrastructure in the United States is where it needs to be in order for game streaming to take off. And I think that Jim Ryan knows this. And I think that they over there at Sony know that they have to come up with something to compete with Game Pass. He says, there's actually news to come, but just not today. We have PlayStation Now, which is our subscription service, and that is available in a number of markets. So
and with Game Pass, like the streaming stuff's good, right? Like the streaming stuff's, I like you said though, it's difficult because like if you live out in the middle of nowhere, you're not picking up this service. Like if you have if you don't have a broadband connection, you're not gonna be able to do this kind of stuff. The ability to download it, yeah. So I like Game Pass because you're downloading those games onto your Xbox, download them onto your PC, and just playing them as they're intended to be played. And having played a good bit of Stadia lately, which is a completely different infrastructure, but like I think that's solid enough for most of the single player games. Multiplayer is a hot mess, but that's a completely different issue. But with this, I mean, Sony's got to do something because Microsoft is making money. I mean, it's a game streaming service. It is that subscription service. You want this, man. You want to be the Netflix of gaming, right? That's where the money is. Let's get those people to sub every month. Forget about it and just keep on. Like, I don't even think about it. Like,
well, the disadvantage that that Game Pass or that PlayStation Now has to Game Pass right now is not only that not all the games are downloadable, but also that not all of Sony's first-party exclusive games are on there. And I do want to make a parallel to EA Play, which is now included with everybody's Game Pass subscription. So what EA does is the first year a game is out, you can only play like the first 5 hours or something like that on EA Play / Game Pass. But after it's been out for a year, they just put it on there. And I think that this would definitely work for PlayStation because anybody that's going to buy their game anybody that wants to buy their game is going to want to have anybody that's going to want to pay for that game is going to do so within the first year, for the most part.
For the most part,
and their games they go on sale pretty quickly, not as quickly as like, I don't know, EA games, I guess, or Ubisoft games, but
it's not Nintendo holding
way
its
faster.
value.
Yeah, it's way faster than Switch games. So there's really no excuse for them to not do that. Like after a year, I think that would work for them totally fine. And another thing that they do have on PlayStation Now, but it's not like as robust as Game Pass, is they do have a lot of backwards compatibility titles. So they have like 15 PS2 games on there and probably 30 PS4 games on there, including Fallout 3, Kyle. So you want to play that on your PS4 versus having to break out the old PS3 or Xbox 3. Well, I guess it's on Game Pass too. Never mind.
Pass, yeah.
And it's not staying on PS Now probably because of
probably
the
not.
ZeniMax thing, but
it may.
I don't know. I prefer to play Bethesda games on my PlayStation system, but that's just me. But yeah, so this is exciting. Hopefully it comes to fruition and is not just Jim Ryan talking out of his ass. We'll see.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on? Well, you guys aren't as into your PlayStations as I am. So
I'm not. My PS4 has been on loan to Mike for a while, and I don't before then, I think it was just sitting up under there. Like, I use my PS4 to play exclusives, and that's really it. And I still haven't touched Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Well, its year of exclusivity's gonna be up in March, so...
Then I'll probably just end up picking it up on my Xbox anyway, so it doesn't even matter.
Man. That game is great, though. Like, you're missing out.
It's okay. I've waited a long time for that, and because it's not the
like I said,
full story, I don't feel as bad. Like, I genuinely have been considering just waiting for the entire thing to be done, and then playing through all of it.
How do you feel about waiting another 6 years for that, though?
I'll wait another 6 years. I mean, my God, it's been 20 since the last one came out. You know? I mean, like, it's fine. I mean, like, I literally was just playing the Final Fantasy VII HD version not that long ago. I mean, I can wait. It's fine.
On Game Pass?
Yeah, I think it was on Game Pass. See, but, like, I would rather actually have, like, I genuinely would rather play Crisis Core again before I play this remake for whatever reason.
Yeah, we were gonna do that, and it didn't happen.
That's a difficult game to play.
Yeah, the Resident Evil 3 remake came out right around the same time, so we were trying to like get that done before we started Final Fantasy VII, and that was like right when the coronavirus hit, so everything was like crazy. So, we ended up just watching a bunch of YouTube videos. It's like the complete history of the Final Fantasy VII universe. And it's like here's this bizarre cell phone game you've never heard of, and that Dirge of Cerberus or whatever.
Yeah, Dirge of Cerberus on the PS2, Vincent's game.
Yep. Yeah.
Really crappy shooter. Whew. So bad. So bad.
Alright. Jim Ryan is a horse's ass and said Sony isn't hearing that the PS5 storage is an issue.
So, how big are those hard drives, Katie? How big is your hard drive on your PS5?
825 gigabytes.
Okay, 825 gigabytes of usable.
No, that's not usable. That's total.
Oh,
so it's like 600
okay, so
and
what do we got for usable? Let's look at that context. I'm just curious of this math.
I'll look it up.
Because I'm just curious, like, so what's the download on, like, for Miles Morales? Or what's the install size in a Miles Morales?
70 gigabytes.
70 gigabytes for a game, right? So you're talking about for these
650 gigabytes.
So you're literally talking about maybe 10 AAA games that you could install on that before you're having to start clear stuff out again.
Miles Morales isn't that big of a game. You got to talk about Call of Duty, the new Call of Duty game, Cold War.
Sure.
It is over 100 gigabytes.
So a sixth. You're talking roughly a sixth of your space is just for one game. Now, and I know that, like, yeah, installs get bad on the other ones and stuff, but I have a 500 gigabyte on my Xbox One S, and I don't ever, like, I can usually keep about 20, 25 games before I'm having to start rotate things out and delete things, just because I don't use an external. That's just personal preference. I like to keep it all there. I don't waste externals on that, but
I have an external hard drive on my PS4 and my Xbox One. But that's just because I just started downloading the shit ton of Xbox or Game Pass games, and never got around to playing them. So, I don't feel like I'm ready to delete them. Like, I still want to play them at some point. But yeah, I've had to be much more conservative on the games I download on my PS5 and my Xbox Series X. Series X has an external expansion. But it's another $200. I'm just, I'm kind of waiting. Prices will come down on that.
And that's for their proprietary SSD expansion. Because any of these, you can just get an HDD external, right? No,
you cannot put PS5 games on an external hard drive.
That's my question.
PS4 games. You can put PS4 games on an external hard drive, or an external USB SSD. But you cannot you can only put PS5 games on your PS5 internal hard drive. Okay. There is a slot for an expandable SSD. It is not active yet.
Got it.
Because there are no SSDs on the market that have that custom controller that Sony has developed.
That is...
So, And Jim Ryan is saying that he doesn't think this is an issue personally, and he's not hearing that this is an issue from the community. This is a huge issue that everybody has been talking about, especially with the size of Call of Duty. And Call of Duty Warzone's even bigger than that. So it's like if you download Call of Duty Warzone and Call of Duty, which is the free one, and then Call of Duty Cold War,
yeah,
that's half of your usable hard drive or soft style. I almost said soft drive. That's not right.
Solution. There is no solution. But what you're saying is there is no solution for this. Like, because it's not like you can just grab a new HD. You can't just go get an external hard drive and plug it in. That doesn't work. The proprietary, because it's all proprietary SSDs. That's the big thing about this generation. They all have their proprietary SSDs. Microsoft, at least at launch, I will give them credit, at least had the option available where you could say, you can go out and get an HDD, but it's not going to be as fast, or you can get our proprietary little slot thing. It almost looks
like a memory card.
It looks like a memory card, right? Which is funny that we've circled back to memory cards. But
nothing on the surface of this planet is new. Right.
Oh, yeah, no. I just think it's really funny we've circled back to memory cards at this point. Because it's a really expensive memory card, but it's still just a memory card.
And you get a little label maker and put it on the memory card, and it's like, here's what games are on this memory card. Like, I don't know.
God, yeah, I remember those days. Remember those days, Mike?
And you, would buy games that would come with memory cards. So you have, memory cards that have, Final Fantasy X, printed on them or whatever.
Yeah, I remember putting the memory card in the controller. Right?
For the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast.
64.
Well, that was the VMU.
Dreamcast.
64.
Memory card went into the controller. Rumble Pack as well. The PlayStation, I still have it. I have my Lara Croft memory card. It's shaped like Lara Croft.
Yeah. Oh.
It's actually one of the best memory cards I ever had, and it was actually an off-brand. It's so weird. It's lasted all these years. It's actually, I don't know if I should probably check that. I haven't checked that in a while.
If you think about what we were just talking about in the previous headline, that we were talking about PlayStation perhaps coming up with a competitor for Game Pass, but now we're complaining about there's not enough room to put all these games on your PlayStation. So how would you feel if you had all these options in a PlayStation Game Pass type store, and you had to completely to explore the selection they had, keep deleting games, downloading new games, and then when you wanted to go back, reinstalling the games that you were just playing a week ago? Wouldn't that just be frustrating because you can only probably have 3 of those Game Pass type games on your PlayStation at a time?
Yeah. I think that's probably maybe Sony's been ready to go with their Game Pass counterattack, but hasn't been able to launch it yet because they have to get the storage situation fixed first. But at the same time, they're saying they're like, what storage situation? It's this just seems so tone deaf. So incredibly tone deaf.
Unless they're thinking of a streaming way to do a Game Pass type style, like Stadia does their streaming, but...
Well, they have that now, but it's not up to par at all. And
I think the thing that we're not looking at too is you're also talking about Sony, and I feel like Nintendo can be brought in this conversation as well, where Sony and Nintendo are Nintendo much more so than Sony, are a little bit more behind when it comes to this Western, I just say Western thought just because Microsoft is on the ball with this, but this connected multiplayer networking and all these things. I know these things are popular all over the world, but I feel like Western games have had these things on lock for decades. Microsoft has had this entire infrastructure in lockdown for so long that they get it, and they're connected with. I feel like of all of them, Microsoft is more connected to their fan base. Nintendo is as well, but Nintendo is much more connected in a way of just oh, you want us to remake this? Do you want us to remake an old Zelda Game Boy game for the Switch? Why the hell not? Let's do it. And it's just yes, you know exactly what we want, Nintendo. But Sony just,
Just shove more Zelda down our throats. It's not that hard.
Shut up and give me just give. You know what I want? I want my. And I know they did a Link to the Past remake a game on this. They did one on the 3DS or whatever. Link Between Worlds.
It's so good.
I understand that, but I genuinely want a beautifully Link to the Past remaster because that's my chef Zelda game is Link to the Past.
The Link Between Worlds is looks pretty good.
It does, but it's not a Link to the Past. Yeah. I genuinely just want a Link to the Past story, gameplay mechanics, everything. I want that entire game HD remade. That's what I want. Just like the Game Boy Link's Awakening is the remake of the Game Boy Advance game. I just want that. Right. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying, but yeah, Sony seems like they're kind of stuck in their ways, and Xbox is kind of trying to force them out of that. And Nintendo's, stuck in their ways, but they've kind of cornered a different market, really, because they are more of the family gaming system. So I always kind of put it this way, like Microsoft is the most technically advanced, Nintendo is the most technically innovative, and Sony falls somewhere in the middle. Less so since the death of the Vita, but we won't go into that today. And I really feel like Microsoft here is just they've just done so many moves that are just so incredibly consumer friendly, and PlayStation is just kind of well, we don't feel like we need to do consumer friendly things. People are gonna buy our shit anyways, and it's they're right, but at the same time,
they're holding up the crossplay. Yeah, it's not Microsoft and it ain't Nintendo because they've already worked out crossplay on Minecraft. Perfect example, Minecraft crossplay across all platforms.
Fortnite was the other one.
Fortnite was the catalyst.
Fortnite is the catalyst there, yeah.
But that was during the time that PlayStation was leading everybody in the pack. Way more PlayStations were sold than maybe Nintendo and Xbox put together.
Not Switch. Not now, but yeah.
The PS4 has definitely still outselling the Switch.
In 2020?
Lifelong.
Yeah. So that's why they were just why are we going to do that? We're leading everybody. More people's getting our stuff. Why do we want to play nice with our competitors? Because we're in the lead. But that's not always going to be the case.
Right. There was 140 million PS4s sold. Well, speaking of Switch, Nintendo has spent all this time convincing XC to bring Sukuna to the Switch, and was pleasantly surprised by the fact that the Nintendo Switch version of the game has outsold pre-order-wise the PS4 version of the game 2-1.
Yeah. Sukuna of Rice and Ruin, which is kind of it's somewhere between a little action RPG and a farm simulator. So it's definitely a unique game, but it's
kind of like a Stardew Valley.
Yes, very comparable to Stardew Valley. Makes sense though, man. I mean, every one of these little indie. Well, this isn't necessarily an indie game, but every one of these little games like this, they do so well on the Switch. That library is. And there's some shovelware garbage in the Switch store. If you go in Nintendo shop, there's trash there. It's not a well curated. It's not as good as a Xbox game store or something. But I mean, dude, they keep on putting these things out there, and they keep on 2-1 over.
Do you guys PS4. You guys remember a couple months ago when there was that game on Switch that was called "Don't Turn Around" or something like that? It was about trying to masturbate in the backseat of a taxi.
Yes, I do remember that popping up and going away, actually, yeah.
No. Yeah, whoever's in charge of curation over there needs to step their game up.
Needs a raise.
Yeah.
The only thing that would make this Sukuna game better is if they named it Sukuna Matata.
That's the Disney tie-in version.
That's
where you have to play as Pumbaa and start a farm.
Yeah, Pumbaa in the back of a taxi cab. Isn't that how that? I don't remember what we're.
Oh God.
Is that why they don't let Nathan Lane do that voice anymore?
That was
The Birdcage
Timon.
2. Oh,
That
was he Timon?
Yeah. Persona 5 Scramble leak. Asian retailers list an English Zone 3 version of the game. So we were talking about this earlier, and Kyle said that the reason that they do Zone 3 is Southeast Asia, and the reason they do it in English is because there's so many different languages in that region that it's just easier just to do one English version. So this indicates that we are having a release of Persona 5 Scramble in the West, and if we don't, there's at least an English version that we can access since the Switch is not region locked. We've kind of talked about before that it's like the Warrior style or the Muso style games are not really my cup of tea, but this does have a story to it. And I love the characters, so guess who's probably gonna play it anyways.
Yeah, me too, but I still haven't finished Persona 5. So that's my thing, is I never finished the full game. Don't even. Because by the time I had played it, Royal was out, and I was like, well,
yeah.
I guess at this point I should just... And it's me just wanting a Switch release and kind of holding out for that, so we'll see what happens with that.
Could be. But at the same time, there was several Persona spin-offs that landed up on the 3DS, and never got Persona 4 Golden on any Switch platform or Nintendo platforms. Didn't get Persona 5 on any the Nintendo platforms, but we'll see. We have talked about Atlas saying that they wanted to do more ports, and they're putting SMT 3 on Switch and SMT 5. Was SMT 4 just like not good or something?
It was not as revered as Shin Megami Tensei 3 is considered to be the holy grail of that series. That is the pinnacle. It's like, I'd say it's like the Final Fantasy VII of that series, but I know that's everybody has their favorite, but it is commonly agreed that Shin Megami Tensei 3 is that's the game. That is the over-encompassing best game in the series.
Yeah. Even if Final Fantasy VII is not your favorite Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy, you can agree that that's kind of what launched the series into like modern times or the public eye or whatever.
That's what got us back to numbering them right again, at least.
Yeah. Pat, I think he likes the 3/6 the best or whatever it is.
That game is fantastic. That game is very, very, very good. That is the game that gave Final Fantasy a little... That does put some traction on Final Fantasy VII in America. The sales weren't as good as they wanted them to be. But 7's the one that totally... Just because of its PlayStation exclusivity and etc. Like, that's the one that really does it.
And the pre-rendered backgrounds and all that good stuff that was cutting-edge graphic-wise. And
the time, yeah. And then we get Final Fantasy Tactics, which is even better.
Alright, speaking of Shin Megami Tensei 3, there was a bunch of bugs in the original that are also getting fixed in the remaster for Switch, which is awesome because all they had to do was copy and paste, but instead they're actually gonna go back and fix some stuff. This is fantastic. Atlas is like rolling in this like, what if we like made some consumer friendly moves?
With
taking a page out of Xbox's book.
Smart. And with this, man, like if this remaster does well, them seeing that there's markets out there for some of these games they didn't think. Like, we talked about Atlas, on Steam, Persona 4 Golden did so extremely well for them. Sega was not expecting that to be a big hit for them. And now that Sega owns Atlas and has that realm, they're like, well, okay, so we're going to do the Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne HD remake. we're gonna fix some stuff that everybody complained about for years. All that stuff will be fixed, remaster that. But then this leaves the door for them to go back and say, well, what if we went back and did like a true remake of the original Persona, or a good version, Persona 2, I know that kind of got weirdly released in America, or even just going back and starting to look back at some of those older titles and go back and start remaster, remakes, re-releases, these kinds of things. I think it definitely leaves the door open for a lot.
This is exciting stuff. You love to see it. Atlas, please just do us a solid. Put Persona 5 on Switch. Put Persona 5 Royal on Switch specifically, so I can take it with me. Because here's the thing, I played 5, and every once in a while I think about going to play Gold or to play Royal because I own it. I haven't even opened it yet, and I bought like the special edition that comes with like a little ceramic Joker and mask and everything. And I haven't opened it yet because I'm not going to play the game yet because I don't want to. It's going to be 150 to 200 hours for me. I put 150 hours into the first one, and but part of that was because I was casting it to my Vita, and I would just like leave it running. I got up and did stuff, or like left the house, like ran errands, come back and pick it back up. But if I play it, I'm not gonna like bust the PS4 back out to play it. I'm gonna put it in my PS5 because it's backwards compatible. But then I can't play it on my Vita, so it's like I'm like I don't know what to do. Like I'm one of my PS4s is hooked up, so in the game room, so I could put it on that PS4, but then I have to sit in the game room when I want to play it on the TV, and that couch is not as comfortable as the one in the living room, which is where the PS5 is. It's a whole ordeal. It's
back to I'll die on the hill of the Switch is the perfect machine for those kinds of games. It's just, that's why I loved the Wii U. Just that tablet, man. Just be able to play, watch TV, hang out. Like, it's just so much easier.
There's just so much bullshit to do in that game that, like, and plus with it being so long, you absolutely need to be able to, like, multitask while playing it, or else you will not make it through. I started playing on PS4 before I had my Vita, and this was when we were a 1 TV household, so it was kind of difficult, like, playing in my screen time, and then it's like, oh man, I really wish I could knock out some of this side bullshit while, like, I'm not, it's not my TV time, and then I got the Vita, and then my world was changed, and I finally made it through, but, man... Like, I still haven't finished Persona 4 Golden, and that's not as long by any stretch of the imagination. But it's just, like, finding the time, because I didn't play it on my Vita, I played it on my PC, which is a mistake, but now I'm too far in to, like, start it over on my Vita, but, like...
We need more cross-platform saves. Cross progression, that's the term, yeah. Cross progression. I wish that would be just a standard. And I imagine into the next 10 years it will just be a standard across the board. I'd be shocked if it doesn't just become the norm.
But sadly, that's not going to include the Vita.
No, it won't include the Vita. Speaking of remakes.
Yeah, 13 Remake was received so poorly that the 2003 original sold better last week in the UK. So 13 is a cult classic first-person shooter that had this very distinct, like, comic book art style, and they remade it, and I think this might have even been, like, a crowdfunded project.
I think you're right.
But they completely jacked up everything. It's buggy as hell, and they, like, revamped the art style, so it doesn't even have that, like, signature comic book look to it anymore. And because it's so buggy, it's reviewed so poorly on Steam. Like, people are just nuking that thing.
It baffles me because, like, it's not the first cell because it was a cell shaded game, and the cell shaded games I used to hate back in the day. In retrospect, like, it's definitely an artistic choice, right? Like Wind Waker. Wind Waker is a beautifully cell shaded game, and they did an HD
Borderlands.
remake, huh?
Borderlands.
Borderlands, yeah, but
also a good
specifically like to link it in with this article, right? We're talking about remakes of cel-shaded games. Like Wind Waker HD remake is beautiful, but it still maintains
that gamepad works
look.
real nice too because you have like the little map on the gamepad.
Yeah. So like that whole that makes sense. It's like I don't understand how they could because this game was about the aesthetic of it. Like it wasn't people don't remember 13 for the gameplay. The gameplay is fine. That's not what people are remembering that game for. It's definitely for the unique comic book style that it had. And I've seen the clips of the new stuff, and it is not impressive. It looks trash.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And I think the publisher the developer came out this week and said that, they're sorry, they're going to patch it, but they're rushing through. But they can only fix the bugs and the AI issues that it's having. They can't fix the art style now, But it's and they're like, oh, our excuse is that we were rushed. I was like, bro, just move the release date back. Nobody cares anymore, It's do they not want to push it back on top of Cyberpunk? Or it's I hadn't even heard of this game until this terrible remake came out, honestly. So
yeah, I knew of it. Yeah.
All right.
Speaking of Cyberpunk.
Yes, speaking of Cyberpunk, Google Stadia is giving a free Premiere Kit edition to anybody who pre-orders Cyberpunk 2077 on Stadia. So the Premiere includes a Chromecast Ultra, which is the 4K Chromecast, and the Stadia controller. Kyle and I both just got the same exact kit for free for being YouTube Premium subscribers.
Yep.
So now you have another opportunity to get this kit for free for pre-ordering Cyberpunk through Stadia. Kyle, you told us last week that you were considering buying Cyberpunk on Stadia.
I am. I'm actually going to I'm actually going to try to play Cyberpunk 2077 on Stadia. I genuinely want. I want to see how well this can do. I'm curious because I'm working on a video. It'll be up eventually, just about where Stadia's at in 2020 and that kind of things. And the biggest thing I've noticed is the single player games play fine. I'm having no issues.
For some people. See, and I think it's totally down to if you got that solid, because I have a solid internet connection in my house, and I live in a home. So I think it's just my neighborhood has good decent internet or whatever. I think it's if you have good internet, for real. If you're somebody, and this is just my thought process, right? If you're anybody that's looking at wanting to man, I want to play Cyberpunk so bad. I don't have an Xbox. I don't have a PS4 or 5. I'm not going to be able to afford to build a PC. For $60 pre-order, you buy Cyberpunk, you can get Stadia and play it on there. Now, you'd have to pay an additional $10 to get the Pro to play it in 4K. It would cap out at 1080p with just buying the game and playing it, just from the personal experience and knowing how their system works. Yeah. But still, dude, Stadia's trying. Well, you get a free month of Pro, so
I have a free month of Pro, and you get a free month of Pro if you're a YouTube Premium member, and if you're a Google One member,
anybody gets one free month.
Anybody gets one free month too. Okay, never mind then. So it gets anybody. Okay.
So if you pre-order Cyberpunk now, get your kit, and then when Cyberpunk comes out, get your free month of Stadia Pro, you'll be done with Cyberpunk in a month, probably. If you're not a dedicated gamer.
Yeah, and that if anything else, right? Those Chromecast Ultras that come with that kit, I think they retail at about $60 anyway, don't they? That's a 4K Chromecast.
I know. Yeah. So Kyle, if you pre-order Cyberpunk, will you get another one?
I was wondering that. I don't think I will. I don't think they'll send me another kit. I was curious, and I may actually try to put in my wife's information to see. But then,
I was about to say, just use a different Google account.
So yeah. So I doubt I'll get a second premium kit. I'm sure there are restrictions that apply to that.
Well, your Stadia Pro membership expires before Cyberpunk comes out anyways, right? Your free one.
It does. I think it expires on the 7th. Yeah, so. And what I'm probably going to do is...
Do you pay for it?
Huh?
You gonna pay for a month of it to play Cyberpunk in 4K?
I can't record it in 4K, so I don't know if it matters. I may actually do the extra month just to test it out. Like, I'm genuinely curious about how good this can do. I'm just curious at this point because I talked in these past
use your wife's
podcasts.
account. Sorry, if you use your wife's account, get your free month of Stadia Pro, get your free extra Chromecast Ultra, and your free extra Stadia controller for Super Bomberman. Right, you play with 2 people.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
And get Cyberpunk, and you can get all of that for $60. And
$60. I mean, that is a valid entry point, and the big thing is that this game is going to make or break Stadia. That is the thing I think that no one really realized. I've seen a bunch of articles about this lately too, just because I've been genuinely curious at this point, because Stadia to me always was a joke. I never thought this would be that good, but having experienced it firsthand now after a year of being out, it's a lot more solid than I ever gave it credit for. So I'm just curious if it can... Because I'm not expecting it to look amazing. I certainly do not expect that. But I think it'll run fine. I'm just curious about that big of a title, because there isn't anything comparable to test on Stadia right now. I was going through the library earlier today. There's nothing comparable to that to test out. So I just want to see if it even... I mean, dude, can you run this on a toaster? Let's find out.
I will not. Here's this just... You know, this just seems desperate to me on Stadia's behalf, because this is like the second promo that they've ran in a month that
sure.
where you can get free shit.
Yeah.
And I know Google like has the means to give away free shit, but at the same time, like Stadia is just like, yeah, that's the thing, Kyle. It's like, do you trust that Stadia is going to be around long enough for you to enjoy Cyberpunk?
Oh, enjoy, yes. Do I think that I'm going to have Stadia for years and years and years? No, I'm not dumb. I'm not that dumb to think that I'll be able to play Cyberpunk 2077 on Stadia in 2 years. I don't think that's going to be a thing. I think this will go to that Google graveyard as well. But Cyberpunk is also a game that I genuinely, with everything I've seen and everything I know of that developer and what that game is going to be, I won't feel bad about buying it a second time. It's fine. Because I will, if Stadia doesn't work out and that crashes and burns and fails, I'll just pick it up on my Xbox, because then I don't have a Series X yet, but I can play it with smart delivery, and then when I get a Series X, I can play it. So it's kind of a... Yeah, this is more or less me wanting to test the waters of Stadia and really see how good they can do it, because some of those games look like... I was playing the... I know you can play it too, Katie, the Phoenix Rising demo.
Yeah.
It looked good. It looked fine on there. It played well. It was solid. It didn't lag. It was pretty.
Yeah. I had no problems with that demo. I really feel like since that demo is Stadia exclusive, it was kind of built from the ground up for Stadia. And I think that's why it runs so good. But Kyle and I tried to play some Dead by Daylight this week on Stadia,
trash.
And oh my god, it takes forever. I could have loaded into GTA Online twice in the time it took us to get into one match of Dead by Daylight, and that's the first time I ever played that game, so of course we were done in like 3 minutes because I kept dying.
Yeah.
Like, it was just not a good experience. And then I wanted so they're making a James Bond game. The people that did Hitman are doing a James Bond game, and I was like, well, I've never played any of the Hitman. Did you not know that?
I thought you were telling me they were doing like James Bond stuff in Hitman. I misunderstood.
No.
I thought it was
like
Hitman.
Brand new James Bond game.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which
They
Bond?
And it's going to be an origin story.
Yeah, they got the teaser trailer out this week.
Which Bond, though?
So
or is it going to be a new Bond?
It's going to be James Bond.
It's not movie related at this point.
And it's an origin story.
Alright. I'm curious to see what they'll do with modeling that face.
Right.
If they're going to try to
It's not going to be Daniel Craig. No.
I doubt that. I'm sure they're going to go with more of a Roger Moore, Connery, something like that. Like
generic white guy.
Idris Elba face.
Yeah. Too old for origin story.
Oh,
Be still my heart. I love me some Idris. Anyway,
he's like 50. Anyways,
it don't matter. That man looks amazing for 50.
he's Black Superman.
Damn right.
Love it.
I tried to play Hitman on Stadia because it was. Well, I actually didn't realize this until afterwards. I was like, where can I play Hitman for free? And I was like, oh man, I thought it was on Game Pass, but it's not. It's not on Game Pass. I was like, oh, it's on Stadia Pro, and I'm in my free months anyways because I had to get it to get my free Chromecast Ultra. So I started playing it, and it took me 20 minutes to load into the game, and it went nowhere. And I finally had to Google how to, what happens when Stadia is stuck on this message. And I found this Reddit thread of this person that's like, here's my general debugging list. And it was 15 bullet points of things that this person does in order to get their Stadia to work. And this was on r/Stadia. So these are Stadia people.
To be clear, you are playing on Chrome.
Yes, on the Chrome browser.
You have not been playing it on the Chromecast Ultra.
I don't think that it's going to make a difference.
I think it's going to make from the tests that I have done, I think you're going to see a significant difference in how much better it plays on that hardware.
But my point is that I didn't have any problems at all when I played the Immortals Phoenix Rising demo at all. I thought it was great. I thought it was a good experience. I had basically no lag 1 or 2 times in the 2 or 3 hours or two, probably more like 1 hour. Yeah. 2 or 3 times that I had frame rate drops, and it was real quick. And I don't have great internet here, and I didn't have any problems with it. But then the second I tried to play Hitman, it was couldn't load into the game. I had to go through this list of debugging things that I found on Reddit, and I finally got to step 5, which was turn off your. This is the funniest part. It was turn on hardware acceleration in your Chrome settings. And it's if it's already on, turn it off. And I turned it off, and it started working. And I was like, this is so crazy. I can't believe people actually have to do all these steps to get their fucking Chrome browser to work. So, but it worked. And then I got to the end of the first mission, and it crashed. And I was like, I'm not doing all that again. So, Hitman seemed cool, but probably not really my thing. But I did notice that it's on PS Now, so I can either stream it or download it on my PlayStation. So
there you go.
Maybe that'll be a more special experience. But I will say that my computer is not hardlined. It's using Wi-Fi, and I live in a condo, so there's other competing Wi-Fi signals. My PS5 is hardlined, so I'll be interested to see if that is streaming on my PS5. Then I'll be able to tell if it's a better experience or not. But I guess that's not a direct comparison because it's different servers. But still,
But I'm telling you, once you get that Chromecast in, I want you to, and because I will say I noticed a difference between using my Xbox controller Bluetooth and this thing hooking up to their system. This works better. This just does.
Does it?
It's made to work better on their system. But anyway.
Yeah.
Holy
all right.
God. 2020 is the most fucked up year because I'm defending Stadia. Anyway. I never thought this would happen. Oh my God, this is the hill I'm dying on.
Yeah, and Kyle was the one that said he didn't even want to install Chrome on his computer because he didn't want Google seeing all his information.
You leave my tinfoil hat alone. But dude,
you don't think they're gleaning information off of Stadia? It's a data mine. I mean, a data gold mine.
Got everything they need from me right here. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. FBI agent. I love you. Good night.
All right. I'm gonna save the Game of the Year stuff for last. Okay. So we got massive Capcom leaks. Basically, what had happened was Capcom servers got hacked, and the people are holding this data ransom. So they're like, "Pay us money, or else we're gonna leak this." So Capcom links this is the list. So we have Resident Evil Outrage, Q4 2021, Dragon's Dogma 2, Q2 2022, Street Fighter 6, Q3 2022, Rockman, also known as Mega Man in English, Match, Q3 2022, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Q4 2022, Onimusha New Work, Q4 2022, Monster Hunter 6, Q2 2023, Biohazard, which is the Japanese name for Resident Evil Apocalypse, Q3 2023, Super Street Fighter 6, Q4 2023, Final Fight Remake, Q2 2024, Power Stone Remake, Q3 2024, was reading too far ahead. Ultra Street Fighter 6, Q4 2024, and finally Resident Evil Hank, Q4 2024.
Okay, so if you look at this list, we don't see the word village anywhere, but we know village is coming out.
Q4 2021. Yeah.
Right. So, well, maybe because if you look at the trailer, it says 2021 tentative date. So, and as a person who's been buying Resident Evil games for the life of the franchise, Resident Evil games never come out on time. They're always pushed like a lot. So it wouldn't surprise me if they were expecting Village to come out in Q4 2021. So that could be their project name for Village. I'm not sure because this could be.
I definitely think there are some things on here that are clearly project titles. Like obviously Resident Evil Hank is a code name for something. I don't think they're really going to call it Resident Evil
and
Hank,
that's
but
2024.
We sure that's not just Hunk?
Think
they finally went full tilt
Hank.
and we're finally going to get to play as the Tofu in a full Resident Evil 2 remake.
Another thing that stood out for me is because the leak I read that we did a video on earlier was we had a Resident Evil VR project coming out.
That was the initial leak before this whole schedule leaked out.
And that was estimated to maybe be in February of next year. So, and this says Q4 2022. So that's obvious conflicting information from the initial leak and
titles in here though that I wouldn't.
Yeah,
expect.
so I think that the Resident Evil 4 one is they're releasing a PSVR mode for the current Resident Evil 4, which is already on PS4, and I think that the Resident Evil 4 remake is something completely different.
Yeah, I mean that's what it probably is. You think they would put that remake in VR eventually though?
They may. Well, they're not doing VR.
Here's the thing. Resident Evil 4 doesn't really lend itself to VR that well because it's a third person deal. So they'd have to do a lot of work to make it in VR. So I don't know what's up with that. Like obviously Resident Evil 7 has PSVR support, but it makes sense because it's in first person. Yeah. So of course you would never in a million years catch me playing that in VR. I would literally shit my pants.
That game is terrifying in VR. I played it at Sean's house. It's not. No, I'm good.
And then we go further down the list. We have Biohazard. Like you said, it's that's their version of Resident Evil, coming in 2023. And then further down the list, we have Resident Evil Hank 2024. And we don't typically see main Resident Evil titles coming out they're not annuals. They don't come out year after year. So they have been known to put out many, like smaller versions of games
like Outbreak
in between in between their main titles.
Sorry. So Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 remakes came out within a year of each other.
But those were remakes. That's what I'm saying.
But they were ground up remakes.
Right, but
we don't know how long they were doing those though.
What I'm saying is if these things are remakes, that's one thing. But if they're main titles, because when was Biohazard 2018? Was it something like that?
I don't know.
RE7?
I think so. It was 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2018 sounds about right.
Yeah, so 2018, so that's 2 years, so at least a year in between main titles. And if we get Village in 2021, then we wouldn't expect to see another main title till 2023, which could be that one. And then, so the 2024 one could be another remake, or it could be a DLC, you know, or it could be a mini game.
It could be an
I don't
offshoot
see all
game.
of
I
these.
mean,
Is there already a character in the Resident Evil universe named Hank? I'm not as well versed as you guys are.
there's Hunk, but Hunk is that chunk of tofu, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't
Or
know
no,
what you're
Hunk.
talking
So,
about.
all right, when you beat Resident Evil 2, there's a mini game called The Survivor that unlocks, and you get to play as Hunk. Or no, was it Hank? I think Hank. No, you get to play as... Hold on a second. 2 seconds. Hunk.
But so Resident Evil 3 remake also released with Resident Evil Resistance, which is the multiplayer. So they did a lot of work on the Resident Evil 3 remake.
That's right. They
And-
were talking about putting out they did leak that there was going to be a multiplayer coming out with the Village, possibly.
Yeah, like a
So-
battle royale type deal.
Like
yeah.
a battle royale type deal. So one of those is probably
That's
that.
what the kids are doing.
Fair. I get the appeal of that. I liked... Well, did anybody actually play that Resident Evil 3 multiplayer mode? See, the concept of that to me was interesting, because it almost seemed like it was like one person was like the game master, DM, dungeon master kind of thing, and they would like control everything that went around. Everybody else was trying to beat the level. So it's that 4v1.
Kind of like a Dead by Daylight kind of vibe to it.
Yes, but more like that Fable game that never came out. There was a very similar game that was going to be a Fable game where, yeah, it's just basically like one person would basically be controlling the dungeon and like releasing the monsters and setting the traps and everything, and everybody else is just running through it trying to beat it. It very much is like it's like D&D. I mean, it's very much that kind of vein of like one person's the dungeon master and sets all the stuff up, and then everybody else just kind of plays through it and tries to beat it. Which is a cool concept, and they don't do that in a lot of... Like, in a video game capacity, they haven't done that very often, which always, to me, is intriguing as a player of D&D. I always like that idea in a game. It's just, it's never really come to fruition very often. But, there's some games in here that I'm very impressed that Capcom's going back for, though. Like, Onimusha was such a big PlayStation 2 era title. I mean, they paid for Jean Reno to be in the third one. He's a French actor. Very, very popular in Japan. Anyway, whatever. He's in Leon the Professional, which is a fantastic film. Mike, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But it's cool they're going back to Onimusha. Monster Hunter, of course, they're going to make another Monster Hunter. Those things print money. 16 versions of Street Fighter 6, which is par for course for them. Just keep on throwing another title on there. They're worse than Nintendo with that crap. It's like Nintendo's like, we're going to make a new extra standard 3DS Ultra Special Edition 3. But Final Fight Remake, I think that's freaking
that's the one I'm
cool.
excited for.
And Power Stone, dude. Power Stone, you guys. That game is amazing.
Yeah, I've never played Power Stone. I never really heard of it before this leak came out, but from what I understand, it's kind of like half beat 'em up, half fighter.
It's somewhere between a beat 'em up and a Mario Party game.
Oh.
It is. Yes, it is. It's fun. They are fun. Like, that is a multiplayer game. You want to talk about like a potential for a cool battle royale title? Power Stone Remake would be a perfect competitor for that. You wouldn't have as large of matches, but I think that's good. This Mega Man game, I'm curious about this. A match game makes me think it's going to be like a puzzle game, but maybe not. Maybe that's actually like a Mega Man Battle Royale game. Something in the vein of like Super Mario 35 or whatever would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Match kind of makes me feel like it's going to be like Dr. Mario, you know? Or...
I mean, Mike and I played about 200 levels of that.
Absolutely,
this
we did.
I mean, yeah, I mean, a lot of these could be, you know, working titles. Obviously, Power Stone Remake is probably a working title. Final Fight, that excites me. I and a sucker for like old school beat 'em ups, but it's one of those things where it's like, oh man, I don't really care for beat 'em ups, and then my boyfriend like makes me play one, and then I like have a fantastic time.
Have you ever? I doubt you ever played Scott Pilgrim when it was out. That's coming out on Switch. That's one, Katie.
Yeah.
If you like old school beat 'em ups, you need to play Scott Pilgrim. It's being remastered and re-released on the Switch, and it is a game that I highly would recommend if you like those beat 'em ups. It is like.
Is it co-op though? I'm not gonna play if it's not co-op.
It's co-op. Absolutely, it's co-op.
Okay.
It is like River City Ransom if you're familiar with that franchise at all. It's very much like that.
All right, just a couple quick newses, and then we'll get into our Game Awards. Last of Us 2, or not Last of Us 2, Last of Us TV show greenlit.
On HBO.
On HBO.
That's money. There's a showrunner attached to that too.
Well, Neil Druckmann, the director of both of the first games, is going to be involved.
Oh,
I forget who the other person is. It's somebody I
Chernobyl
trust.
creator.
I know that. Yes.
That's what it is. It's the guy who made Chernobyl,
Craig
so
Marsden.
it's just...
Oh, they co-wrote the script.
That's still... shut up and give me my money. I can't wait. I will watch every episode of that with bated breath.
Mm-hmm. So we don't really know much information about it. We don't know if it's going to be a recreation of the events of the game, or if it's just going to take place in that universe. We'll see.
The former makes more sense, though, doesn't it? Doesn't it make more sense to just
recreation of the events?
Yeah, I
but
think
it's
that
just
makes
it's
more
hard
sense.
because it's like who are you gonna have play those characters? Like I don't. It's just hard with like video games being turned into TV shows or movies to like pick an actor that like because you know what
Carl
that character's
Urban
supposed to look like.
as Joel?
Like it's can he do a convincing Joel voice?
I bet he can.
Or we're just gonna have Troy Baker do the voice still and just do Carl Urban as the face
no.
swap.
You have to totally. I feel like if you totally I think Carl Urban's a good cast for Joel personally.
Yeah,
I think that works.
He's a great actor in general. He was great in Star Trek as Bones. He was great in. He was even good in Doom, one of the movie out of the video game.
Dread.
And Dread, and then The Boys. He just did his British accent the entire time.
He's
so
like, guys, I'm getting paid to be me.
But
he's not really British.
Him as Bones is probably in Star Trek was probably my favorite Carl Urban. I loved him in Star Trek. He was great.
He was really good. No, he's good. He's always good. But yeah, I think he would be a good choice. Ellie's tough though. That would be
because it's like not only it's just so hard because it's like I feel like Joel's voice is kind of like just a generic voice, but I feel like Ellie's voice is very distinct. Like if I don't hear this girl being like "fuck you, dude" in the same exact way that Ellie would say it, like I'm just gonna like not watch. I feel like it's safer for them to do a different story in the same universe or like a prequel or something. Like I don't. Because those games are so cinematic, you don't really have to do much as far as a script because you can just use the dialogue that you already have, I don't know.
It depends on what they want. I mean, really, there's a lot of different ways to approach this, right? You can do it as its own individual thing, or you can recreate, because, those stories are so good that they could absolutely be a show. Absolutely. And you have material for at least, God, you could stretch out the events of the first game into 3 seasons, probably? Realistically, right?
Probably. Yeah.
2
or 3. Look at how long The Walking Dead's been going on. They don't have any new and exciting content. It's the same fucking thing every season. Oh, a new bad guy that's evil. Like, okay. We get it.
Well, and the comic's done now, so the source material's gone.
Right.
That does dry out eventually, but
we all know what happens when the source material runs out. Cough, cough, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, check out our spoiler cast on Last of Us Part 2. day late, dollar short, but we got some interesting things to say about it. Especially me, who has some controversial opinions on whether morals are the same post-apocalypse or not.
Do we figure them out? I don't know. Good luck.
Spider-Man Miles Morales fans find a new tribute to Chadwick Boseman.
This was amazing. So, of course, in the credits they have a tribute to, a dedication to Chadwick Boseman, who we all know has introduced the world to Black Panther, who didn't know he existed before, and he was just a strong cultural figure, as well as standing up for racial inequality. A lot of people used him as a symbol for that, and it was just tragic the way he left this world, and everybody misses him. So of course they're going to add him in the credits, but they also added him. They took 42nd Street in the game. Some guys, some sharp-eyed gamers noticed that 42nd Street, I think in Midtown Manhattan, turned to Bozeman Way, and we all know that before he played T'Challa, he played in 42, Jackie Robinson's story, and that's where he won all his initial awards that we all realized, hey man, Chadwick Boseman can act. So that's why they picked 42. But it was just it was so smart the way they figured it out, and just kind of threw that little Easter egg in there. Put a smile on my face when I saw it.
R.I.P. All right, and finally we have. We're just gonna do 2 categories of Game Awards nominations, and we're gonna talk about what we think. First up, we're gonna do most anticipated. The 6 games that were nominated by the Game Awards are Elden Ring, which we've talked about quite a bit on this show, Halo Infinite, Horizon Forbidden West, God of War Ragnarok, Resident Evil Village, and Breath of the Wild 2. Interesting to see Cyberpunk's not on here, but the thing is, it's coming out this year, so it doesn't count, but this
Right.
goes to show that the Game Awards should really not be in December, because now Cyberpunk is out. It cannot be Game of the Year, but it also can't be most anticipated. It's eligible for Game of the Year next year, but by the time November rolls around next year, are we going to remember how great that game was? I guess we'll have to see, because we talk about this. So last year, at the Game Awards, Jedi Fallen Order just missed the deadline, and I know neither of you have played that game, but it's great.
I'll get on it now that I can play it for free.
So it would have been eligible to be nominated for Game of the Year this year, but it had stiff competition this year versus last year, where I think it would have taken it easily. I don't even remember what won Game of the Year last year, because there wasn't that many fantastic games that came out last year. Was it Untitled Goose Game or something that came out? Or got Game of the Year last year? Or that wasn't just the indie
right there,
one.
honk. I love that stupid game. It's great.
So Game Award needs to be moved. This is just ridiculous. But also, what do you, of the ones that got nominated, what do you guys think is your most anticipated game? But then also, is there one that you think got left off?
Well, so we had Breath of the Wild 2 up there. Is that the last one you said?
Yeah.
With me, that's a really tough one. I would put that
you
one
didn't
up there.
play the first game.
But I'm probably, for me personally, I'm probably just going to say Village, even though I'm not sold on the fact that it's going to be out in 2021. Because I specifically remember how long I waited for Resident Evil 5 to come out, how many years they were pushing that game. I'm gonna say Village, just because I'm just a Resident Evil fanboy and I've played all of them. But yeah, Breath of the Wild's definitely up there for me too.
Even though you didn't play the first one?
I love Link and everything. He's ever since the original Smash Brothers on 64. That's my boy.
Yeah.
Anything you think is missing from this list?
Well, yeah, like you said, I think Cyberpunk should have definitely been on some kind of list last year or this year.
It might have been on there last year. I don't remember.
It's
I
pretty
don't know.
shit of them not to have Cyberpunk on. I understand why it's not, because it's not out to be game of the year, but it's also it's in a weird window. But like you're saying, then maybe the window needs to be moved.
Especially with so many games getting launched around the holidays.
Well, I mean, yeah, like, and I feel like a lot of other awards, like when people do like personal awards and stuff on like game, they typically wait until January.
Yeah.
Just to get that last little roundup in December, because there are a lot of things that drop. I'm looking at this most anticipated list. I'm curious. Thinking about what I'll actually play.
What is your most anticipated of this list and also in general?
Of this list, Breath of the Wild 2, absolutely. Of these games, just because I have not played... I've seen God of War played. I know that story. That story's cool, but I'm just not a God of War guy. It's not my game. It's not my franchise. Horizon Zero Dawn, I've played the original, but I have not beaten it. So I don't have a love there for that. And it's not like, I know that franchise is fantastic. It's definitely building up a new IP for them, which is it's crazy how popular that IP is for such a new one for Sony. Halo Infinite, I'm burned out on Halo. I don't care.
Yeah.
Elden Ring, I'm curious about, but because we've talked about this before, because it's a From game, I just think it's gonna. Is it gonna be even something I can play and beat? Because I know that like there's that get good mentality where Resident Evil Village, yes, I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the franchise to continue on because 7 was such a very much needed life support for that. Like,
yeah.
Holy God, that made that franchise good again. Like, I have not played through an entire Resident Evil game like that in years. And, like, genuinely was like, okay, this is fantastic. But
Did you play either of the 2 or 3 remakes?
I played 2 remake, loved it. I did not play 3. 3 was not. I didn't like 3 on PlayStation. It's just not my game. That game has a.
The remake's not as good as 2.
I can believe that the remake of 2 is amazing, and I still need to go back and play through like the ABBA stories of both. I haven't, but it's not the end of the world. Whatever. It's still a fantastic game, and I loved it for when I played it. But it's got to be Breath of the Wild 2, man. That's. I'm. Shut up and give me that. Like, I want it. Like, I loved Breath of the Wild. It's a great game. So the sequel is just going to be... I can't imagine them dropping the ball on it. I mean, it's such a crucially good game.
What do you say, Katie?
Anything that's missing, Kyle? You think?
Cyberpunk, but obviously...
It's in a weird window.
Yeah, anything that's missing for most anticipated. For me... This is personal. Darktide's not on here. That's me. I am very much so looking forward to Warhammer 40k Darktide. Just because I know, as much as I love Vermintide 1 and 2, that game for me is most anticipated. But that's not going to be on most people's radars of even a game to play. So,
right.
All right. For me, looking at this list, I think it's Elden Ring. And I think that might shock you guys a little bit.
A little bit.
I've played Breath of the Wild. Pat and I played it together on Wii U, and then I went back and played it myself on Switch. Loved it. Great game. There were times where I felt lonely while playing it, though. And I think that was tonally what they were going for, but it just, like, affected me more than, like, a normal person, because I guess I'm just, like, too empathetic, but yeah. So
do you think Elden Ring's going to make it out next year? Do you think they're going to get it out next year?
Not if George R. R. is writing it.
No. Yes, that's what I'm thinking too.
The script is coming.
Resident Evil. I will. So Pat and I kind of played 2 and 3 together because he needs someone to like point out things, but I can't do it personally. I have not
Redder,
played 7.
greener, mix them together.
Yeah. He needs help with inventory management. So I have not played 7. I've watched a little bit of it. I have it. I'm not gonna play it. Too spooky. God of War, I didn't care for at all, really. Atreus is annoying as hell. Gameplay was good, but like not good enough to make up for the fact that I just can't fucking stand Atreus. So, Horizon Zero Dawn's a fantastic game. I loved it. The gameplay is phenomenal. Story's kind of weird, but like I just do. It's just not something that like. It's like I want to play it, but it's like the same thing. Kyle, I haven't finished it either, so it's like there's no point in me looking forward to a sequel when I haven't even finished the first one. But like I can't imagine that they're doing anything that's that new or exciting gameplay wise as they did, like compared to the first one.
Yeah,
the first one was so good, and they had these like brand new ideas, and I just like. It was like refreshing to play, but I just don't see the second one having that same feeling. Mm-hmm. Halo Infinite, hard pass. Elden Ring. And it's weird because I have not played any of the FromSoft games, and I know that I'm not going to be able to. But like, George R.R. Martin, I just can't get past that. Like, that's the thing that's so exciting to me was, like, as soon as this was, like, rumored that George R.R. Martin's, like, working on a FromSoft game, I was, like, I remember telling, like Mike and Brandon, our coworker, about that, and, him being like, well, Katie, all the FromSoft games are really hard, right? And I was like, no, I've never heard of them. What does it tell me about it? And this was like right back when I was getting right back into the video games. So I was like, but it doesn't matter because it's George R.R. Martin. I'm a George R.R. Martin stan, and like he can do no wrong in my eyes. So yeah, that's where I stand with that.
From all three of us said, I think that honestly, I think Breath of the Wild 2 has a really good shot because we all gave that big shout outs. Yeah, even though it wasn't our top one. Everybody, I think that's a lot of people's list is just like, if they're ordering these things, I think it's going to be a lot of different ones on number one. But I think Breath of the Wild comes in on a lot of number ones and number twos on a lot of people's list who are doing these things. So they might have a really good shot at this.
Something that I think is missing from here that we haven't heard that much about, but at the same time we also haven't heard that much about Elden Ring. So like, Avowed, the new RPG from Obsidian that was teased at something.
All we've seen is a teaser trailer for that. We know nothing else.
All we've seen of Elden Rings is a teaser trailer.
Oh, that's true. That's what kind of sucks about most of this, right? Is all of these are just teaser.
All we've seen of Breath of the Wild is a teaser trailer. We haven't. The only.
Yeah.
I think that we've seen the most. Oh, God of War was even worse. It didn't show anything except for the fucking like deal.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But I mean, it's hype train. Hype train. That's all these things are is hype train. Because all 6 of these could be garbage. We have no clue. But I doubt it's doubtful. It's doubtful they'll be garbage. But what I'm saying is like no,
they're not going to be garbage. I think because these are all half of them over half of them are established franchises who have a formula.
Yeah.
So, but getting to Game of the Year, and before we get to Game of the Year, there's one that we're not doing that I'm just going to give a shout out. Ghost of Tsushima is up for Game of the Year, but if it doesn't win, I think that should be up for the art category because I didn't play it. I watched a lot of people play it because my PlayStation was on the fritz at that time, but it was just beautiful. That's just my shout out to that game. If it doesn't win Game of the Year, it needs to definitely be in the art category.
All right. So Game of the Year, unless you guys want to talk about art a little bit more.
No, you go ahead. That was my only thing with it.
No, I'll agree with Mike. That's beautiful.
So Game of the Year got some dark horses in here. Animal Crossing: New Horizon.
It's a tough one to beat.
Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, and The Last of Us Part 2. Mike, something that's missing or what? And your choice.
Interesting, we didn't get any of the titles from November because we had some big titles come out this month. We had Assassin's Creed come out. We had Watch Dogs come out. We had Spider-Man come out.
Cyberpunk's
what is
in a couple weeks.
Yeah, Cyberpunk's coming out. We've got a ton of big games coming out, but
It's
we
all
don't
about
see
their
them up
cutoff
here.
date.
Demon's Souls was reviewed very, very, very well. Like 93 on Metacritic or something ridiculous like that.
So this, I can see Animal Crossing being up here because that was a huge game when it came out, and it's still a huge game.
Yeah.
But yeah, just so many titles didn't make it up here. But out of the ones, if we gotta pick one, I of course I'm gonna go with Last of Us, because that's just my jam since the first one. But I'm just surprised at this list on what's left off out of just like the 4 we just named.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead, I'm done.
Kyle, favorite and also something that you maybe feel like should have been added?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the list. So I haven't played Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm sure that if I had, it would probably be my game of the year, but I just haven't played it yet. I've played Doom Eternal. I can see why it's a lot of people's. It's just not my favorite style of game. Because Tsushima I have not played. I've seen it. It's beautiful. Hades is another one that if I had played it, this probably would be my game of the year because you know how much I love a roguelike. So I think there's... Yeah. And I know that's a little more story-driven than that, but still, it's still a roguelike. And this is where it's hard for me, is Animal Crossing and Last of Us 2 are two so very different games.
I think you put more time in Animal Crossing than you did in...
I was just about to say but it's both of those games this year brought me so much joy for very different reasons.
Joy?
For me, yes, they brought me so much joy, dude. I played so much Animal Crossing, and that is like a bonding experience and sharing with my daughters that I cannot ever forget. Like, that is a thing of like, man, that is a bonding experience between me and my kids and something we share, and it's wonderful. And the same thing with Last of Us 2, where that's a bonding experience of sharing something with my wife that we both really enjoyed and played through together, and like, it's these beautiful things. If I have to pick one...
Quarters, yeah.
Oh God, quarters, man. It's hard. So, I'm going to go with Animal Crossing just because genuinely, like, I dumped, like, daily I was spending 2-3 hours. So, yeah, Animal Crossing is my game of the year for 2020.
Anything you feel like should have been on this list that's not?
It came out in 2020? No, I mean, there's, like, the things Mike had mentioned, but none of you got to have your cutoffs. So, those really are. I mean, that's it. I think that list is pretty... Hades surprises the hell out of me that's on the list. I'm impressed that it is, because I know it's super popular. Yeah. You know what, though? Actually, no, I am surprised. You know what I'm surprised is not on here? And I understand it was not released this year, but Among Us, I understand that game is a 2018 release.
Get nominated for Best Multiplayer.
It was nominated for Best Multiplayer. Okay, so as long as that's in a category, I'm cool with that. Game of the Year, I mean, dude, like, that game is insanely popular, so I'm shocked it's not on this list, but I can see why it wouldn't be. Multiplayer, yes, absolutely needs to be on there, so. Okay, cool. That's it.
For me, I've played the most games on this list out of anybody. The ones I haven't played are Doom Eternal and Hades. I didn't care for Ghost of Tsushima that much, which I'm probably going to get a lot of flack from that, because everybody seems to be, like, in love with that game, and I expected myself to love it, I really did, but, all the side quests seem to be, like, cosmetics driven, and that doesn't interest me at all. If I'm playing a game with side quests, I need it to be more RPG. I need there to be gear. Or else I don't care about doing the side quests. I don't care what my character looks like. And also, all of the pieces that I got cosmetically are fucking ugly. So, like, that's what you see all the things about people, like, following the foxes and petting the foxes. The first fox I ran into literally guided me off a cliff, and I died. And then I couldn't figure out how to get to the place where the fox was, because the fox had, like, disappeared because I fell off a cliff and died. And then when I finally found it, it was just, like, another fucking headband. It's like, okay, and it's like the combat, like, I'm sure it would have gotten better as it got further on, because I did want it to do more like a stealth approach, because that's how I enjoy playing games. But I just didn't get far enough, because it starts kind of in the middle, right? And then you kind of have to like pick a path. But I just didn't really get very far. I didn't really love the time I spent on it. I'll probably get back to it eventually, but like, yeah, I don't know. And it also did kind of suffer from that thing that Breath of the Wild did, where you just like kind of feel lonely at times. I don't know if it's just like because I'm so used to having companions when you're in a game that's like narrative driven, like, I don't know. Maybe that's just me being emotionally stunted or something. Final Fantasy Remake was kind of the experience that Kyle had with Last of Us 2, where it was me and my boyfriend playing it together and us having a really good time playing it and making all these like reoccurring jokes and like just a really good bonding experience. And plus Final Fantasy VII is one of his favorite games of all time, and so it was really cool for us to share that. And then we do this thing where once one of us kind of gets hooked on something, we both kind of like start obsessing over it. And so that's when we were watching Advent Children. That's when we were watching all these YouTube videos about all the backstory. That's when we were trying to replay Crisis Core together. And it was a fun time. And it was right after coronavirus started, so I needed some fun in my life. Animal Crossing I played a lot of. It was fun. Me and Kyle and a couple of our other coworkers who aren't normally into video games had a group chat where we would send each other our bill prices, all the time, and it was fun while it lasted, but it was just too much. It just got to be too much work for me. So, I really think I have to give it to Last of Us 2.
Suck it, Kyle.
Dude,
that game,
that's fine. I don't
that
disagree.
game was fantastic from beginning to end, even though the story hurt me in ways that I have not been hurt in a long time. Gameplay, even if you take out all the narrative, the gameplay is just, miles above any of these other games on the list. Like, it was just so much fun, every single experience, like trying to get all the quarters and trying to get all the cards and that little like open world segment and like trying to find the safe combination and
riding around in the
giving
boat
up and googling it up. Yeah, right. You're like, oh man, am I missing something? It's like they got
I better stop here at this one little section to make sure I didn't miss anything in these 7 buildings.
Like,
Can I break this window and get in here?
Which one of these doors is secretly a loading screen, and which one can I go through to get goodies and making the wrong choice and hating yourself and wanting to replay the chapter, but then it was like, oh man, that chapter was 4 hours long, never mind, I'm not going back and replaying it. But yeah. Oh man, I have not cried like that in a long time or since. Like, oh boy. But like, it was just, chef kiss. That's my goatee.
Did you say oh boy or old boy?
Oh boy.
Okay. That's a very different reaction. Have you ever seen Old Boy? You should watch Old Boy. The original, not the remake.
Okay.
It's an emotional movie. The ending's really fucked up.
Mike, since you also picked Last of Us 2, who do you think should win best voice acting of the two? Ellie or Abby?
Are they both in it?
Mm-hmm. They both got nominated.
I don't know. That's why I'm there. That is why I don't do this stuff. I couldn't tell you. I think they both did a phenomenal job. I don't know who did better.
Can Mike phone a friend?
Kyle, Kyle, you can have an opinion too. Oh.
Is Ashley for Ellie, dude? I think her performance is so much better than Abby's, personally. But I'm biased.
I think it's Abby. I think the I let you live and you wasted it. Like, I don't think so many emotions go into that one line delivered, and I felt every single one of them.
But Don't you worry, I'll waste it even more. Give me a little bit. I'll waste this even more.
Anyways. Alright guys, well that's going to do us here for the NixCast episode 5. We are going to wrap up with a little bit of what we've been doing this week. Mike, what you been at?
Oh, nothing. I was just having fun with playing, finishing up Last of Us so we could talk about it finally. And then Kyle bought me a Miles Morales on his PlayStation 4, so I've been playing his game on his PlayStation before he gets to it. So more to come on that. That's it.
Kyle?
Stadia. Way too much Stadia. Lots of Risk of Rain 2. I did the Phoenix Rising demo, and then once Cyberpunk 2077 comes out, I'll be playing that on Stadia. That's really all I've played this week is stuff on Stadia. That and watching just crap TV. I did barrel through all of Animaniacs, the new season. You should too. It's great.
Well, for me, I couldn't get my Demon Souls stream to work, so until I can, I'm out of things to play on my PS5 that are new. So I actually started playing Fallout 4 again, and I remember today why I stopped playing. I don't really like the base building stuff.
You don't have to do it.
Yeah, but like, I want to, but
no, you don't. The base building's trash in that game. The only way it's good was with mods. Don't worry about it. Just ignore Garvey and just keep on moving on with your life. Just don't even care about it.
I already finished that one. But yeah, so what else did I play? I started playing New Vegas again. This is something I want to touch on. So I booted up Fallout New Vegas on my Series X, and it said continue, and so I hit continue, and it was like no saved game found. I was like, fuck, I know I had a saved game on my Xbox One. So I started playing like the intro, but I only had like 30-45 minutes to kill, so it's like I didn't get very far. So then when I went to sit down like later that night to play it, it said it's like, oh, we found a save game. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, where was this earlier? Like,
Must be some cloud sync issue.
Yeah. Which is still better than what you have to do on the PlayStation, which is turn on your PS4 and then upload the save data and then download it on your PS5 or something like that. I don't know. I haven't really tried it yet.
Sounds like matchmaking Ubisoft game.
Yeah. Well,
not that bad.
Better than Dead by Daylight on Stadia. So yeah, that's another thing I played. Kyle and I played a little bit of Dead by Daylight on Stadia. We already talked about how that went. I already talked about how Hitman crashed on me. What else did I play this week? I have like 1 or 2 more battles left in Fire Emblem 3 Houses, and I had to restart the battle like 4 times because things weren't going right, and then I gave up. So
I forgot.
That, and then just playing some more Yakuza Like a Dragon with my boyfriend, and we have conquered the management minigame, which was a lot of fun. So
I forgot I did play Katamari Damacy reroll on the Switch.
How's that?
Did you ever play Katamari? You ever play any of those?
I haven't, but I'm very interested in it. But it's like I don't want to pay for it.
They're fun. It was like $10 digital download on Switch, and it was something easy for my little one to play with me. So we've been kind of playing that, and it's fun. The controls feel weird. I'm not sure if they changed or if I just don't remember the controls that long ago on PS2, but it's been really fun. That game's simple. It's just fun. You roll crap around into a ball and move on to the next level. Like, it's not anything complicated. It's a Zen game.
I think there's a version on Vita for that as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of versions.
Cool. I think I might have played some more Spider-Man this week. I don't remember. It's been a long week. Well, that does it for us here at Nixgig Gaming. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, special thanks to you. I hope that everybody has a great Thanksgiving, and we will see you next week.
Bye, everybody.